There's a part of kind of this story of what's going on right now that I don't think for some young people, like, this wouldn't, you wouldn't have a certain context. It'd even be difficult, I think, in a college to really give it context. Something that should be remembered is that when Ronald Reagan ran for president, for one, the left had gotten to a height of power and everything was falling apart. There are certain issues that really did need to be dealt with fundamental economics. And that's why we had gone on, well, no, not fundamental economics. There was this stuff that it appears there was a lot of people who wanted to just rip everybody off in our society, that everybody was getting. There was money there, and that there was financiers that knew how to get at the money. And so what you end up having with the Republican Party that a lot of people don't know is that there's a reference that even Nixon makes, that there's these Texas oil men who tell him that they don't like the desegregation of the schools or integration of the schools or blah, blah, blah. And I remember that I just always, that always was a fascinating line to me. So one of the things is that what comes up next is, okay, so nobody tells you that George H.W. Bush, Vice President of Ronald Reagan, denied he had been in the CIA. He denied this for, like, I think the first 2 years of the administration, with the idea of that, well, he wasn't allowed because it was super secret. Well, you see, very few people, there was no internet. Nobody had the information on, no, the Bush and Herbert Walker, Bush, that whole group. The whole thing about them is they're the ones who came up with the Pentagon and were a part of the financing of that and recruiting these guys from the Axis countries to supposedly help the fight the commies. And so we end up getting the network of intelligence agencies that we get by the time, say, you're like in 1984, 1985. So even Gaddafi's intelligence network was a creation of this. Saddam Hussein's intelligence network. So these intelligence networks, that the way that they were, they were begotten from a bunch of guys from the former Axis countries. So they were anti-civilian in their specialty. They went after the people in the country. That's what the Saddams, the Gaddafis, and so people call it a revolution. But what it is no, some outsider trains a bunch of people to help you kill your neighbor. And then 30 years later, you're like, what was I thinking? Oh my gosh, I wanted to think about that because I was thinking about the nature, how people think revolutions come from the bottom up, and they don't. They come from about the middle down, and so I was thinking about that aspect of something that you wouldn't have you wouldn't have a context for it. They helped set it up, and they used Nazis to set it up. That's our weird relationship with Ukraine. It was well documented, in case nobody ever told you in school. All right, later.